I was sitting in my recliner, half watching the evening news with a cold beer in my hand, when my phone buzzed. Nothing unusual, my wife texted me all the time. Usually it was little things, reminders about milk, questions about dinner, or updates about her mother. But when I picked up the phone that night, the words staring back at me didn't feel like her at all. I think maybe we need to break up. My hand froze. Break up? After 22 years of marriage, a house we built together, and a life that had weathered storms most couples wouldn't survive, she reduced it to those 7 careless words. I didn't panic. I didn't beg. I didn't even feel shocked the way most men might. Because deep down, I already knew. I'd seen the late-night work events, the sudden phone calls she took on the porch, the way she smiled at her screen when she thought I wasn't looking. I'd ignored it, told myself not to be paranoid. But now she was daring to put it in writing. My thumb hovered over the screen. For a second, I considered asking her what she meant. Maybe giving her a chance to backpedal, to soften it with an excuse. But then I thought about the past 2 years, the distance, the lies, the way she'd flinched when I tried to hold her hand at her sister's wedding. No, enough was enough. So I typed back. I agree. Your stuff will be on the porch in an hour. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The silence that followed lasted only a few seconds before her phone lit up my screen again. This time, the message was frantic, full of typos and scrambled words. Wait, I was joking. I didn't mean it. Please don't do this. I was just kidding. But I wasn't kidding. I stood up, drained the last of my beer, and walked toward our bedroom closet. Every step felt strangely calm, steady. She thought she could play games with my life, with my loyalty, with everything we'd built, and then just laugh it off when she saw me flinch. Well, I wasn't flinching. Not this time. As I started pulling her dresses from their hangers, another buzz came through. Please, can we just talk? I'll explain. Don't throw everything away over a text. I folded the dress neatly, placed it on the bed, and kept going. Shirt after shirt, shoe after shoe, drawer after drawer. With every piece I packed, I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying a weight for years without realizing it. Her desperation grew with each new message. You're overreacting. I didn't mean it that way. Don't do this, please. Finally, one came through that made me pause. If you go through with this, you'll regret it. There it was, the threat, thinly disguised as a warning. And in that moment, any trace of doubt vanished. This wasn't a woman who'd made a silly mistake with her words. This was a woman who thought she could push, manipulate, and control me the way she always had. I smiled to myself as I carried the first box down the stairs. She thought I was bluffing, but she had no idea what I was about to uncover. By the time I had 2 boxes packed, my phone was buzzing nonstop on the nightstand. She'd gone from frantic apologies to angry demands, then circled back to begging. Please stop. I was just testing you. Don't be so dramatic. We can talk when I get home. Put my things back. You're being childish. Childish. That word nearly made me laugh out loud. 22 years of loyalty, of paying bills, fixing roofs, mowing lawns, and working overtime to keep us afloat. And I was the childish one? I taped the second box shut and carried it down to the porch. The night air was cool, calm, peaceful. Funny how the world outside doesn't stop when your marriage collapses. Neighbors' porch lights glowed. A dog barked in the distance. To anyone passing by, I looked like just another man doing late-night chores. But to me, every thud of a box on that porch sounded like a gavel slamming down. When I went back upstairs, her phone call started. First one, then another, then 5 in a row. I didn't answer a single one. If she had something to say, she could say it face to face. As I pulled the last drawer from her nightstand, a folded slip of paper slid out and fluttered to the floor. At first, I thought it was just a receipt. But when I opened it, my stomach tightened. It was a hotel invoice. 3 nights. Paid in cash. Dated from the same weekend she'd told me she was visiting her mother. And the name printed beneath the additional guest line wasn't mine. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding that paper like it was on fire. For years I'd had suspicions, little things that didn't add up. But here it was, black and white, no excuses. My wife hadn't just been careless with her words, she'd been careless with everything. My phone buzzed again. Another text. I'll be home in 20 minutes. Don't you dare touch my things. I slipped the invoice into my pocket and stood. Her things were already packed, and my resolve had hardened into something even she couldn't twist or soften. She wanted to play games? Fine. But now I had proof. When I stacked the final box on the porch, I sat down in the rocking chair beside it and waited. Headlights appeared at the end of the street. Her car. She came flying into the driveway like a storm, slammed the door, and marched up the steps. Her eyes were wide, her hands shaking. "What the hell is this?" she snapped, gesturing at the boxes. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. I simply reached into my pocket, unfolded the hotel invoice, and held it up between us. She froze. Her mouth opened as if to speak, then closed again. For once, she didn't have a quick excuse, no clever spin. Just silence, and guilt written across her face clearer than any confession. "Sit down," I said quietly. "We're going to talk, and you're going to tell me exactly who he is." She swallowed hard, and in that moment, I knew everything was about to unravel. She didn't sit right away. She hovered near the porch railing, arms crossed tight against her chest like a teenager caught sneaking in after curfew. Only this wasn't about curfew. It was about betrayal, years in the making. I held the hotel invoice out again. "I'll ask one more time. Who is he?" Her eyes flicked to the paper, then back to me. "It's not what you think." That old line. The coward's anthem. I let out a humorless laugh. "You booked 3 nights in a hotel with someone who isn't me. Enlighten me. What exactly am I supposed to think?" She pressed her lips together, silent. I leaned forward in the rocking chair, steady, controlled. "You text me that you want to break up. I tell you I agree. And suddenly you're sprinting home like your world's on fire. Why? Because you didn't expect me to call your bluff. You thought I'd beg. You thought I'd chase. But here's the truth. I'm done chasing. So start talking." Her shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of her like air out of a balloon. Finally, she whispered, "His name is Brian. He's just a friend from work." "Friends don't book hotel rooms together," I said coldly. Tears welled up in her eyes. "It only happened a couple of times. I swear. It wasn't serious." "Not serious?" I felt my jaw tighten. "You lied. For years. And you have the nerve to call it not serious?" She shook her head rapidly, stepping closer, her voice rising with desperation. "I was lonely. You were always working, always tired. I needed someone to talk to. It got out of hand, but it doesn't mean I don't love you." I stood then, slowly, deliberately. The chair creaked behind me as I rose to my full height. She shrank back, her voice faltering. "Love me?" I asked quietly. "You humiliate me behind my back. You send me that text like our life together means nothing, and you dare stand here and say you love me?" She wiped her eyes, trembling. "I was joking with that text. I never meant it. Please, don't throw this all away. We can fix it." Fix it. Like 22 years of trust could be patched over with an apology. I reached into my pocket and pulled the invoice back out, letting it flap in the breeze between us. "You can't fix this. Not when the proof is right here. And I promise you, this isn't the only piece of proof I'll find. Men like Brian always leave a trail. Do you want me to keep digging?" Her face went pale. Her hands twisted together nervously. That reaction told me everything I needed. There was more. Much more. "Tell me the truth," I pressed. "Now? Because if I find out from someone else, you won't like what comes next." For a long moment, she stared at the boxes stacked on the porch, the life she'd thought was secure now sitting in cardboard under a porch light. Finally, her shoulders sagged, and she whispered just 3 words that made my blood run cold. "There's someone else." The words hung in the air like smoke. "There's someone else." I stared at her, waiting for more. My silence pressed on her harder than yelling ever could. She shifted from foot to foot, unable to hold my eyes. Finally, I asked, "Who?" She hesitated. Her voice came out small, like a child caught lying. "It's someone you know." My jaw clenched. "Stop circling. Say his name." She rubbed her temples, muttering, "This isn't how you were supposed to find out." Funny thing, I shot back. "You don't get to control how betrayal is discovered. Now tell me." Her lips trembled. "It's Mark." For a moment, the name didn't register. Then it hit me like a fist to the gut. Mark, my closest friend since college. The man who'd stood beside me at our wedding, toasted me at my 50th birthday, watched football in this very living room 100 times. I felt the ground tilt under me. "Mark?" I repeated, as if saying it out loud might make it less absurd. "My best friend, Mark." Tears spilled down her cheeks. She nodded. "It just happened. We didn't plan it." The fury that surged through me was like nothing I'd felt before. It just happened. My voice was sharp enough to make her flinch. He sat at my table. He ate my food. He held my kids when they were babies. And you looked me in the eye every night knowing exactly what you were doing. She reached out, but I stepped back. I didn't want her touch. I didn't want her excuses. How long? I demanded. Her silence stretched. Finally, she whispered, almost 2 years. 2 years. 24 months of lies. Of me sharing beers with a man who was stabbing me in the back. Of me trusting a wife who was already gone. I let out a bitter laugh. So that text you sent me, you weren't joking. You were testing the waters. You wanted me to be the coward and make it easy for you, didn't you? She sobbed harder, shaking her head. No, I swear, I didn't mean it like that. I was scared. I didn't know what I wanted. Oh, you knew what you wanted, I said coldly. You wanted him. Her knees gave out, and she sank onto the porch step, covering her face. For the first time all night, she looked broken. But I didn't feel pity. I felt clarity. I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened our message thread. The words were still there, glowing in the screen's cold light. I think maybe we need to break up. I turned the screen toward her. You started this. You ended it with that text. And now you're going to live with the consequences. Her sobs quieted, replaced by a nervous, wary silence. What are you going to do? She asked. I met her eyes, steady, unwavering. What I should have done a long time ago. And as I said it, a plan began to form. One that would make sure neither she nor Mark ever forgot what they'd done. I didn't sleep that night. She cried herself to sleep on the couch while I lay awake in the bedroom, staring at the ceiling. The image of Mark sitting across from me, laughing over wings and beer, played in my head like a cruel movie reel. Every memory soured into betrayal. By dawn, my course was clear. She thought I'd rage, throw things, maybe storm off to a bar to drown my anger. That's what she was counting on, for me to be reckless. But I wasn't reckless. I was deliberate, and deliberate men are dangerous. At sunrise, I brewed coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and pulled out my phone. If she thought her secret was safe between the three of us, she was mistaken. I scrolled through photos, family holidays, barbecues, Christmas parties, and found one of Mark with his arm around her shoulder, both of them smiling just a little too warmly. I sent it to her phone with a single line. Funny how you can smile so big while stabbing me in the back. I heard her stir on the couch, her phone buzzing a second later. She sat up, her hair tangled, eyes swollen from crying. When she read the message, her face went pale. What are you doing? She whispered. Getting ready, I said simply. She swallowed hard. Ready for what? You'll see. That day, I played it cool. Went about my routine, made breakfast, even mowed the lawn. But every moment, I was planning. And she knew it. She followed me around the house like a shadow, wringing her hands, trying to gauge my mood. By noon, I sent another message, this time to Mark. We need to talk. Tonight. My house. No explanation. No threats. Just an order. And I knew he'd come. When she saw me type his name, she nearly panicked. Please, don't drag him into this. Don't humiliate us all. I turned on her, cold and calm. Humiliate? That's rich. You've been humiliating me for 2 years. Now it's his turn. The rest of the day ticked by like the slow turning of a blade. She tried everything, cooking, crying, even apologizing, but I didn't bite. My silence was heavier than any shouting could have been. By 7 o'clock, headlights cut across the driveway. My pulse slowed. It was time. Mark stepped out of his truck, adjusting his jacket like he was just stopping by for a friendly visit. When he saw me waiting on the porch, arms crossed, his grin faltered. Behind me, she appeared in the doorway, whispering, "Please, don't do this." But it was too late. Mark climbed the steps cautiously, eyes flicking from me to the boxes still stacked in the corner. "What's going on?" he asked. I looked him dead in the eye. "You know exactly what's going on." His jaw tightened. He glanced at her, then back at me. "Look, man. Save it," I cut in sharply. "We're going to have this out. Right here. Right now." And the truth, the ugly, rotten truth, was about to spill into the night air for all of us. Mark shifted uncomfortably on the porch, the easy confidence I'd seen 100 times now replaced with nerves. He tried to act casual, but his eyes darted to the boxes stacked by the door, then to my wife hovering behind me like a guilty shadow. "Look, man," he started again, raising his hands like a peace offering. "I didn't come here for a fight. You came here because I told you to. I said, my voice low, steady. And now you're going to answer. He swallowed, glancing at her as if she might save him. She didn't. She stood frozen, tears streaking down her cheeks. How long? I demanded. Mark shifted his weight. It wasn't supposed to happen. That's not an answer. I took a step closer. How long? His voice cracked. 2 years. I let the words hang in the night air, heavy as lead. 2 years. He admitted it without even trying to sugarcoat it. My hands curled into fists, but I didn't swing. Not yet. You sat at my table, I said coldly. You drank my beer, laughed at my jokes, slapped me on the back like a brother. And the whole time, you were sleeping with my wife. Mark flinched. I know I screwed up. No. I snapped, cutting him off. Screwing up is forgetting a man's birthday. This, I gestured between the two of them, is betrayal. And betrayal has consequences. Behind me, she finally spoke. Her voice trembled. Please, stop. You're scaring me. I turned my head just enough to glare at her. Good. You should be scared. Because you thought I was blind. You thought I'd never see the truth. But I see it now, and I won't unsee it. Mark took a cautious step forward. What do you want from me? I almost laughed. The arrogance, to think this was about negotiation. What I want, I said slowly, is for you to feel what I felt when I found out. That hollow, gut-wrenching burn that tells you everything you built was a lie. His face paled. He finally understood this wasn't just anger. It was justice. I'm not going to hit you, I continued. I'm not going to scream. I don't need to. Because tomorrow morning, everyone will know. Your wife, your kids, the people at work. You'll lose more than I ever could. His eyes widened. You wouldn't. I leaned in, close enough that he could feel my breath. Try me. The porch fell silent except for the sound of her muffled sobs. Mark's bravado melted. He backed away a step, then another. This doesn't have to go that far, he muttered. But he knew it already had. As he turned to leave, I called after him. Don't bother running. The truth is already in motion. He froze on the steps, but didn't turn around. Then he climbed into his truck and drove off into the night. I turned back to her. She stood there trembling, lips parted, eyes wide. What did you do? She whispered. I gave her the faintest smile. What I had to. And tomorrow, you'll see. The next morning, I woke earlier than usual. The house was silent, except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faint sound of her restless breathing from the couch. She hadn't slept much. I could tell from the way she shifted all night, as though afraid of what sunrise would bring. I brewed a pot of coffee, sat at the table, and opened my laptop. Everything I needed was already in place. Screenshots of texts, the hotel invoice, even old photos of Mark and her looking just a little too comfortable together at gatherings. The evidence wasn't dramatic by itself, but when you put it all side by side, it painted a picture no one could ignore. At 7 a.m. sharp, I pressed send. One email, one subject line, the truth. I sent it to Mark's wife, his grown kids, and a few people from our friend circle. Within minutes, the silence shattered. My phone buzzed with calls, texts, missed notifications. I ignored them all, sipping my coffee like it was any other Saturday morning. By 8 o'clock, I heard her stir. She stumbled into the kitchen, her face pale, eyes swollen. What did you do? She asked, her voice cracking. I told the truth, I said simply. Her hands trembled. Mark's wife called me. She's hysterical. She said their kids know now. You've ruined everything. No. I corrected, meeting her gaze. You ruined everything. I just stopped covering for you. She sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands. For the first time, I saw her not as my wife, but as a stranger who'd gambled with everything we had and lost. Around 9:30, Mark showed up. He didn't even bother knocking, just barged onto the porch, his face red, eyes wild. Are you insane? He shouted. Do you have any idea what you've done? I stepped outside, closing the door behind me so she couldn't interfere. Yeah, Mark. I know exactly what I've done. I gave your wife the respect you never did. I gave her the truth. He jabbed a finger toward me, his voice cracking. She's throwing me out. My kids won't talk to me. You've destroyed my life. I let out a bitter laugh. I destroyed it? You destroyed it the moment you crawled into my bed behind my back. Don't you dare put this on me. He sagged against the porch rail, looking suddenly older, smaller. We didn't mean for it to get this far. I leaned in, my voice sharp. You meant it every single time you lied to me. Every time you smiled at me while sneaking around with her. Don't play innocent now. Behind the door, I could see her silhouette watching, trembling. Mark followed my eyes, then shook his head. She begged me to keep quiet. Said you'd lose it if you found out. I smiled faintly. Well, you were right about one thing. I did find out. And I didn't lose it, I won. Mark stared at me like he didn't recognize the man standing in front of him. You're not the same, he muttered. No, I said firmly. I'm not the fool you thought I was. He staggered back down the steps, his truck door slamming behind him. The engine roared, then faded into the distance. I stood there in the cool morning air, letting the quiet settle back in. When I finally went inside, she was sitting at the kitchen table, shaking. Everyone will know, she whispered. They should, I said. It's called consequences. And we're only getting started. Her eyes widened, panic rising again. What do you mean? I leaned against the doorframe, calm as ever. You'll find out soon enough. And with that, I began planning the final move, the one that would ensure she never forgot what she'd thrown away. By Sunday morning, the storm was in full swing. Word had spread faster than I imagined. Calls from mutual friends, whispers in our small town. Even my sister rang to ask if it was true. I didn't deny a thing. I told everyone the same line. Ask her. She'll confirm it. She hated me for that. She sat in the living room, clutching her phone, frantically trying to do damage control with lies and half-truths. But the thing about lies? They don't survive daylight. And daylight was pouring in from every direction. By noon, I made my final decision. Divorce. Not out of rage, but out of clarity. I printed the papers I'd already prepared months earlier, back when my suspicions were only gut feelings. I laid them neatly on the kitchen table, beside a pen. When she saw them, her face went white. You've been planning this, she whispered. I nodded calmly. I've been waiting for the moment you gave me the proof. And you handed it to me yourself with that text. She shook her head, tears spilling again. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. I cut her off. You don't fix betrayal. You bury it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. She gripped the table, desperation dripping from her voice. You'll regret this. 22 years, you'll regret throwing it all away. I leaned in close, my voice steady, sharp. You regret it. Because you already lost me the minute you chose him. I left her there, staring at the papers, and drove to Mark's house. His wife answered the door, her eyes red but fierce. She didn't need me to explain. She already knew enough. All I came to say, I told her, is that you're not alone. He betrayed both of us. She gave a bitter smile. Oh, trust me. He's about to find out just how alone he really is. I left knowing justice was already at work in that household. That night, when I returned home, she was gone. Her clothes, her boxes, everything, all cleared from the porch. She'd taken the papers with her, but the signature line was still blank. That didn't matter. She could delay, but she couldn't escape. I poured myself a drink, sat in the same recliner where it had all started, and stared at the quiet house. For the first time in years, I didn't feel tension. I didn't feel suspicion. I felt peace. Her final text came at 10:47 p.m. Please, can we just talk one more time? I didn't reply. Instead, I set the phone down and let the silence answer for me. Because here's the truth. A man can forgive a lot. Mistakes, arguments, even distance. But betrayal? Betrayal cuts out the foundation. Once it's gone, the house collapses. She thought she could test me with a text, laugh it off, and go back to life as usual. What she didn't know was that I had been waiting for the chance to prove to both of us that I wasn't weak, I wasn't blind, and I wasn't going to be played for a fool. And I did exactly that. When I finally turned out the light, I slept better than I had in years. Because for once, the truth wasn't hiding in the shadows. It was out in the open, where it belonged. And tomorrow, I'd start building a new life. One without her lies. One where loyalty and respect weren't optional. The kind of life a man deserves.